Welcome into College Football Every Game on the Board podcast, week number 13, episode number 1, where we are breaking down every single game on the college football slate Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, top of the Saturday card coming your way with our leadoff hitter, Jeff Nadeau, at Jeff Nadeau on Twitter. Check out his podcast, The Sit Down Podcast. Great listen there. Jeff, welcome in, bud. How you feeling?
Pretty good, Drew. Pretty good. Already week 13. I cannot believe it. It feels like just yesterday we were starting out the season, but got another week, another day, another dollar.
Another week, another day, another dollar. I believe it's last day of Maction as well, which is Wednesday night. We're recording this in the 2 o'clock Eastern hour. So we got 2 games Wednesday night. We'll hit 1 on Thursday, 2 on Friday, and then the Saturday card. So top of the card here, Jeff, it is Miami of Ohio and Buffalo. So Maction -2 and a hook. Some money coming in here on Miami of Ohio side. It is a tough trip kind of to Buffalo, New York. I believe each of the last 3 times they've made this trip, they've lost. 39 being the total. Low total here. We've seen a flip favorite from Buffalo to Miami of Ohio. I like the Bulls, but it seems like the market likes Miami O. What are you thinking tonight?
Yeah, this is a tough game. I think I would agree with you. It's pretty even to me. I will say I was hoping to maybe get a 3 with Buffalo here. I just don't see much advantage for either team. I think the only strong advantage would be the fact that what you mentioned is Buffalo's at home here. But they're only 2-7 against the number. You look at both these teams, very good defensively, very close to the vest. The quarterback play just continues to be very subpar for both teams. I don't really know what's going on with Miami O. Last week, DeQuan Finn didn't play against Toledo. It was Henry Hessen, and it didn't go particularly well. Didn't go well at all, actually. Miami O is really playing poorly at the worst time. Both these teams really are. My slightest of leans would be to Buffalo, but I would have needed a 3 or more to get involved. Don't really have much interest in either of these teams. Maybe under. I think that's another interesting spot here. But they did a good job with this total, putting it at like 40. Because I could see a fall like 24-20 or 23-20, something like that. I'd ultimately didn't play this one.
In DeQuan Finn, you brought up, right? The quarterback, Miami of Ohio. You kind of alluded to it. You don't really know what's going on. I'll tell you this, Jeff, just reading the articles of what
I think he transferred, actually.
He actually left the team.
Yeah,
Chuck Martin said he left the team to prepare for the NFL.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I did see that. Yeah, I commented. I was going to comment on that, never did, and I think I kind of forgot about it. That's right. I think I said this last week about him. He's just a selfish kid, I think. He doesn't care about his team. It's all about him. And that's one of the reasons he left Toledo. He tried to be greedy, go to Baylor and make money. He might have made some money, but he didn't play. He then came back to the MAC, and he leaves Miami. I think he's more of just kind of a guy you'll take playing poorly. You just can't have him on the team because he just makes everything bad. I think the issue that they have there is this Hessen is bad, man.
Yeah.
I mean, he's trying, but 42% completion. This guy's one of the worst quarterbacks in the country. He's bad. Last week against Toledo, 11 for 38. He had 3 interceptions, I think. I lean Buffalo here. It's not a great number, but I think they win probably. They have a slightly better quarterback situation.
Yeah, sure. And lastly, what I was going to bring up is to what you alluded to, like you're not sure what's going on there, is because I don't think they're being like fully transparent. I think there's something else going on. Maybe it is due to his selfishness, something in the locker room, because you don't leave your team, who's still open for the MAC championship, by the way, if things fall their way, and a bowl to prepare for the NFL. That all 32 general managers in the NFL are going to go, wait a minute, you were the starting quarterback, you left your team, and now we're supposed to draft you? There's no way that's going to be positive for him.
I think he's just probably delusional and thinking that he could somehow just do it all on his own. And there is a strong step here that we've seen that he's done this before. Like he's left a team. He left Toledo. Everything was really good at Toledo. But I think he probably maybe thinks he's better than he is. I will state, though, like this game seems like a close game either way. I don't feel like it'll be because, again, Buffalo's quarterback situation isn't very good either. So It's again, two teams I just don't really want to wager on. Gun to my head, I'd play Buffalo, but I didn't get the best number.
All right, good start here, Jeff. We got the next one up Wednesday night, both nationally televised, by the way. It's the Chippewas and the Golden Flashes, Central Michigan at Kent State. We are seeing Central Michigan -8.5 or -9, depending where you're shopping, as we're recording this Wednesday afternoon. And we've seen a tick up in the total. Some of it my money, Jeff, 47.5 up to 50 in a hook now. Central Michigan, what they've covered 6 of their last 7. Kent State, they scored over 40 points last time out. I think we're going to get points here. I think sidewise it's a little tough because Central Michigan is one of the better teams in the MAC. But Kent State is playing better football. They're 4-6. If they win their last 2, they can go to a bowl. They're at home. I think there's arguments for both sides, but I think the offense scores into the 50s, if not 60s, Jeff. You like anything in Kent, Ohio?
Yeah, I think I agree with you on the total. Weirdly enough, I mean, it's unlikely, but if Kent wins their last 2 games, they're going to a bowl game.
Right.
If you had told me that when they played, some of the early season games, I'd have told you you're crazy. They looked like one of the worst teams in the country. But I think I remember saying to you at one point, I think there are FCS teams that could beat them. Legitimately. Central Michigan's playing better. Joey Labus, they're getting him into better situations as far as getting him out there, short throws, high profile, high easy stuff. It's worked better for them. And Ken is not good against the run. I lean CMU in the over here. I made this number 7.5, so I don't really see much value in it. I think the totals you're playing, you got it at a good number.
We got Thursday action here, November 20th, 7:30 Eastern on ESPN. It is Louisiana Lafayette, the Ragin' Cajuns, on the road facing Arkansas State. Arkansas State -2.5, pretty much across the board. We are seeing one -3 out there. 54 and a hook being the total for Thursday night football, Jeff.
Yeah, I lean over here. I don't play much Sunbelt, and if I do, it's totals. Arkansas State is not as potent offensively this year, but they should be able to move the ball against Lafayette. Louisiana's got their quarterback, Lunch Winfield, back. Not one that I have much interest in. Two teams that obviously need a few more wins. I think you'll get a pretty good game. Should be pretty close. I think the number's about fair. I made it 55, so I think there's maybe a little value on the total, but outside of that, I didn't have much on this one.
All right, we got a 2-pack flipping the page here. Friday Night Lights, November 21st. First game up, Florida State and NC State, ACC conference battle here. We are seeing the Seminoles -4.5 to as high as -5.5, 61 and a hook being the total. Kind of a tough trip here, laying a number for Florida State. NC State at home, catching some points. What are you thinking?
Now, I want to make it clear, I'm not betting this one, but over looks good here. I'm a little gun shy with NC State just because of last week. They were a great over team until last week where they just couldn't move the ball against Miami. I don't think Florida State's as good defensively. Florida State play fast too. They'll be able to move the ball. Everybody's moved the ball this year against NC State. I think at worst, this is like, 31-30, 34-31. I think at worst, my guess is both these teams get into the 30s and push this one over the total. And again, season's still very alive for both of them. You want to get to ball eligibility at this point. It's a road game for Florida State where they don't play as well. It should be a good bounce back for NC State. I think over's the play here.
All right, we got next one up, the nightcap on Friday Night Lights. Hawaii and UNLV. This is a big one in the Mountain West Conference. Both teams, great seasons overall. We are seeing UNLV -2.5 or -3, kind of a split line, depending where you're shopping. 65 and a hook being the total. I've gone to this game in Las Vegas. It's great atmosphere. I went in Sam Boyd Stadium. It's probably better in their where they're playing now in the Raiders Stadium. But Jeff, they call Las Vegas the ninth island. There is a lot of Hawaiians there. Should be a fun atmosphere. Hawaii UNLV here.
Yeah. I mean, I hate to go back-to-back overs, but I did play this over at 64.5. I think, for me, Drew, I mean, the last month haven't been particularly good for me, but I'm going to be very stubborn. I stand on what I see and what I know. And I believe these are two over teams. You know, it didn't go well last week with UNLV over for me, but I look at Hawaii. This is a top 10 passing offense. They're kind of back to the roots of like the Timmy Changs of the world, where he wants them to throw the football. And Alejado has been very effective. I was very impressed with his ability to move the ball against one of the best pass defenses in the country in San Diego State. UNLV on turf is always a dangerous always a dangerous under proposition. This team all year has been able to move the ball. Pretty shoddy defense too. Anthony Calandria's kind of gotten more and more confidence as a quarterback as the seasons went on. Two good offenses, two big play teams on turf. As you said, a lot riding on this game. These two teams, I mean, UNLV 16th in points per game. Hawaii is just a little farther behind, but it's been a nice season for them too. I think the over is the play here. I have this at like 38-34. I think this is a fun game Friday night. I agree.
Yeah, Friday night lights here. Jeff, before we turn the page to Saturday, high school football is like quarterfinals, semifinals in the state of Florida, Georgia. Do you know any sports books that offer high school football lines?
I know Bet Online has. I've seen in the past.
Yeah, in the past. I haven't seen it this year though. Like in the old days, Five Dimes used to put them out on the.
Oh yeah, Five Dimes. I mean, I would love to have that book back. That book was great. Yeah. I mean, they offered. I mean, what was cool about them is they would offer. I mean, they'd throw out like a college basketball game. You know, like Mercer against Toccoa Falls, like some like NAIA team, and you could adjust the line like they're going to win by 55 or more. Like that was a Wild West book. You could literally bet anything on there, anything. I Bet Online. I've seen in the past, but I don't know of any books like now that do. Maybe ask Dave Mason; he'll put it up.
Yeah, no, they will do that if you kind of ask them if they have I guess a market for it. But no, man, I just actually, this is just off the top of my head with the Sit Down podcast. You know, Five Dimes Tony, everything that happened to him in Costa Rica. Do you know what actually happened? Have you ever done?
I've heard. On that? It's funny you asked me that. I've had a show that I've had on the back burner for a while.
Yeah,
I don't know whether I want to do it just because. I've actually heard that he's still alive.
Yeah,
he's quietly living in the South somewhere. And I heard that the whole thing was kind of made up. And there's some pretty strong sourcing to that. Again, when you start dealing with people that have like pretended to die, there's a reason for that. They don't want to be bothered. Obviously, Tony was involved in some pretty concerning rackets, if you will. He is a fugitive as far as I know. So, I mean, I don't think he'd be smart to be living in the United States if I was him. You know, he's probably living somewhere in the Caribbean. My guess would be, I think a place a lot of people go is Curacao. It's close enough to Venezuela where no one really bothers with it. I don't know. I've always been fascinated by the idea. I have talked to someone recently that gave me credible information that he is still alive. And there's actually, some magazine, I think, did like a deep dive into it. I probably will do something soon on it. I'll probably have to get around to it. Maybe after the basketball season, I'll do it. It'll be a long show.
Yeah, that'd be an interesting one, man. I was living down in Costa Rica and just hearing the news that was out there, you know, how he was leaving Five Dimes office, the cops were in on it, and then a body was never found. Like, how else would you get, you know, a grown man out of his car?
I mean, generally too, like, I know like people don't really know much about like those worlds, but if organized crime did that, I think a lot of people have this thought that organized crime doesn't want people to know that they kill people. But like drug cartels and stuff are very like propaganda based, and they want you to know they did stuff, right? Which is one of the reasons they do like those videos where like they'll film people being killed. They want you to know they did it. It's really like a thought of like, we did this and we want you to know about it so you don't do it, you know, and they almost take pride in it. So I feel like we would have had some sort of semblance to belief that he died, right? Because they would take credit for it. I mean, that's a big hit. I mean, he may have been involved in the drug trade possibly, which a lot of this stuff goes hand in hand. he may have got involved in some sort of land deal or something like that where they, got upset over it. They may have been washing money with him or something. So, yeah, I think he's alive personally, and he's just fugitive essentially. But you know how those people are, Drew. Like, if you're in Costa Rica, a lot of the time involved in like the bookmaking world, you can't come back to America. So he just might be in a tough spot.
Yeah. No, good stuff, Jeff. I definitely listened to that podcast, man. So yeah, hopefully you do, but we'll get back to the games. Turning the page, Saturday, November 22nd, top of the card here. It is Rutgers, Ohio State, Big Ten matchup. We are seeing the Buckeyes minus 31 and a hook, 55.5 being the total. Ohio State, man, they've been a wagon both straight up and against the spread, but laying more than 30 here. You liking anything in the horseshoe?
Yeah, I do want to answer a YouTube question, but I'll just answer this game quickly. I don't have much on this one. Ohio State's really just been going through the motions. They're winning games by margin. They haven't played anybody in like 2 months. To me, I think their lines are pretty straightforward at this point. I think they're very sharp. I think you just throw 31s out there and just say, like, I don't think like they're getting crushed in Ohio State games, because I think there's a thought that like maybe they don't care that much. They don't need style points, right? I mean, we're not in that world anymore, at least for them. They're the number one seed. If they keep winning, they're the number one seed, right? As long as they don't like, I think the only way they maybe aren't the number one seed, what would they? It would be like if they lose, obviously, or like if they went out into this game and like won 21-20, like I think that could be concerning. But yeah, I don't have much. I will ask Oven Fresh. I don't normally talk about other sports books on this, but the channel actually was terminated recently. I believe they're working to get it back. I don't know if they'll get it back, but I would just follow their socials and they'll tell you where to go. I don't work for BetUS. I'm just I just show up and do the show. I believe they're on Kick now and some other platforms, but I didn't do the show today, so I'm not really totally sure what's going on.
Sure. Feel free to talk about any sports book, Jeff, on
here. For anyone who doesn't know, I do a show at BetUS. I do college basketball there. But yeah, I would just check their socials on Twitter, or check out on Kick. I believe they're on right now.
Okay, cool. Yeah, guys, anybody on YouTube, Twitter, feel free to throw out your picks, where you agree, where you disagree, any questions. We'll hit them here, hitting every single game on the college football slate. Week 13 is we got UConn and FAU up next, 1-2-1, 1-2-2. It is the Huskies, -7, -7.5 as the road favorite, 66 being the total. I like UConn here. Kind of a tough trip to Boca Raton. FAU, that offense, if they can get it going, might be able to score some points anyway. 3 o'clock Eastern in Boca Raton, Florida here, Jeff.
Jeffrey Epstein in the chat. How about that? Unbelievable. Thought he was dead. I guess not. Yeah, I actually disagree here, Drew. I like FAU a little bit, and here's why. So FAU's fighting tooth and nail, 4-6. Need 2 wins to get to a bowl. They got to get this one. They got to go next week and beat ECU. So they're going to be, I think, really hyped for this one. They're at home, as you said. Pretty good offense, pretty good skilled players. And I look at UConn and I say to myself, like, what are they playing for at this point, right? I don't think they look particularly good against Air Force. The Joe Fagnano no interceptions dream, that's over. Now I got to get on the plane. This is their last game, Drew. UConn's done after this, right? Then they just weeks from now play no bowl game. Who's up for this game if you're UConn? And you're laying 7.5 on the road. I think FAU's up for this. I don't know if they'll win, but something tells me they're right in this game. I think FAU's the play. I actually played them here. Looks like Sharp Money agrees. It's down to 7 at some books. So yeah, I'm gonna back FAU here a little bit. And play them.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think the spot sets up well for the Owls. And speaking of the Owls, we get the Temple Owls hosting Tulane, the Green Wave. Green Wave -8, -8.5 as the road favorite, 56 and a hook being the total. Not far from where you're talking right now, I believe.
And I'll ask you, do you think Tulane should be a playoff team?
If they win out,
I mean, they are currently, according to the rankings. They lost by 22 to UTSA.
What
This
other
conference
group of
just-
5 team would you put in? I think
JMU.
Yeah, okay. No, I'll go with you. I'll say if JMU wins out, I think it should be JMU.
Well, according to the college football playoff rankings, Tulane is that team. They're the 12th team right now. Okay. This conference, as we've talked about on this show, cannibalizes itself. They do one thing good and then they screw it up. I think Temple's the play here. I've just noticed with this conference, when they go on the road, weird things happen. I think Tulane's solid. I mean, I give them credit this year, but I think they've just been really just kind of decent, nothing special. I didn't think they were overly impressive last week against FAU. I mean, they probably should have lost to Memphis. If Memphis's defense could have just gotten one stop, who knows where that game would have went. Temple's been pretty tough. They're well coached this year. They're going to run the football. Look, I could be dead wrong, and this could be a blowout, but weird things happen in this conference. I don't trust any team on the road here. Sleepy atmosphere. You know, Temple's going to fight. They're well coached. Something tells me this is a little too high.
Yeah, and Kenny Wu in the house saying about his comments, the Tulane head coach, who's looking at other jobs, by the way, saying they don't deserve it. I don't know what his thinking was in saying that, but yeah, something to throw out there.
I mean, he said he's wrong. I mean, they don't. Why do they deserve it? They just lost to UTSA by 22. They gave up 48 points. Who cares about top 25 anyway? Look, if he said they deserve to be a playoff team, I think he's crazy. But like, top 25 are cool. You're a top 25 team. I guess if that's a win for you, so be it.
You think JMU could knock someone off? You know, I guess that 5 seed in the 12-5. They got a shot. They were right there with Louisville. I watched that game.
I mean, they would get what, like Georgia or someone like
Probably,
that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, they were in the game against Louisville for a period, but that's Louisville. I don't know. I'd have to see the matchup.
Yeah. Makes sense, Jeff, as we'll head to Boone, North Carolina. Next one up, Marshall and App State. Pretty good one here. -4 and a hook. That is the Thundering Herd as the road favorite. They've taken money. It opened -3. 54.5 being the total. Marshall at App State next up.
Over. I don't think we should be listing Marshall games in the 50s. Marshall's got a great quarterback, Del Rio Wilson. They've got a great skill position group. The defense stinks. And App State's, they play very fast. They're on the front foot a lot of the time. Can't stop anybody either. And they're both fighting here. Both are, they're not out of it. I think you'll get some decent motivation for both these teams. I think both believe they can win it. I think this is first at 30 wins. I'll say like 30-27, something like that. I like the over.
Looking for the over in Boone. We'll head to Tulsa and Army next up, kicking us off on Saturday, 12 noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. 45 being the total. Army mostly -10. FanDuel hanging a 9.5 plus juice. This Tulsa team hasn't been very good. They're going on the road, tough place to play, having to stop Army. I like Army here, but these military academies better than anyone, Jeff. What are you thinking?
Yeah, I do too. I would try to grab a 9.5 if you can. Tulsa, I think they'll always play hard, but they have nothing to play for here. And now you got to go up and play a military school, which is never easy. Army's still fighting to get to that 6-win mark. They've obviously are a group that they're never going to be down in a game. They've seemingly figured out the quarterback position, which for them is important. They need a guy to command and be the conductor to that offense, run the veer, run the different plays they have. Helms has done a nice job. Their defense has played well too. I think my one knock here is they don't win by margin very often. I mean, they've just been just trying to get wins, right? They're not trying to win by margin. I don't know if they're capable of doing that. I wouldn't want to go much above a touchdown. Will I play this one? No, probably not. I definitely don't want to go above 10. This could fall 31-21, 28-17, something like that. I don't know if it's going to be easy. Tulsa's been pretty tough, and they're off a bye, I believe. So
Okay.
I don't – gun to my head, I'm taking Army, but they're not that typical – they're not like Navy where they have a quarterback that can run the score up, they could throw the ball. They're more of a plotting. They're going to run the ball every play. You're not going to have a ton of possessions.
Good point there, Jeff. As we got Oklahoma State and Central Florida up next, 4 o'clock Eastern in the Bounce House. Kind of a tricky one here. UCF, they got to win their last 2 to make a bowl, and they're 14-point favorites. 48.5 being the total. Miserable year for Oklahoma State, but Central Florida, they haven't been all that great either. You liking anything in Orlando?
Yeah, I mean, I think Oklahoma State's clearly the worst Power 5 team. I mean, they have the proverbial problem of being bottom 6 in America in both scoring defense and scoring offense, which is why they have so many blowouts. I was hoping to get 50-ish for a total. I would have played under. I think UCF will probably get to like 30, but Oklahoma State, I just, their offense is so bad. And I think if there's one thing about UCF you like is the defense. They've done a pretty nice job this year. I could see it this fall, like, 30-13, 31-17. I still like the under a little bit, 48.5, 49. Your worry is they put up 45 here, which they could. But UCF doesn't have a real good quarterback room, pretty good defense. I lean under here.
We got 131, 132 up next, 1 o'clock Eastern, Old Dominion and Georgia Southern. ODU, the Monarchs, -12 and a hook as the road favorite, 62 being the total in Statesboro, Georgia.
Yeah, one of the games last week that I was kicking myself for not taking was a Georgia Southern Coastal over. I think it went over by the half. It was 45-40. It was a wild game. Old Dominion seems to have kind of an irritation in their eyes. They've been bothering and beating up teams ever since that JMU thrashing. They've won by 33 and 24 over the last 2 games. Georgia Southern is not a real good defense. I think they kind of clamped down here defensively. I think anything under 2 touchdowns, I'd lean on ODU. Again, though, I think the dream is kind of lost, and they're not going to win this conference. But I think for them, the goal is, here's the problem, Drew, for Old Dominion. Okay, they can't win the Sun Belt East. Okay, JMU's won that. If they were in the West, they would have a shot because they'd be the other team that plays JMU. Old Dominion's really just playing out the string, right? They're bowl eligible. Like they're really just playing out the string. And that's what makes these games dangerous against the Georgia Southern, because Georgia Southern, while they're not playing for anything, they do want to get to a bowl game. They're 5-5. They have a pretty decent quarterback. So I've kind of made a thought for both sides. I'm passing.
Jeff, we get Delaware and Wake Forest up next, kicking us off 12 noon Eastern. We're seeing Wake -17 and a hook across the board, 52 being the total. Wake, another team, pretty good defense, but I don't know that they score enough to lay this number. You like anything Wake Forest hosting Delaware?
Yeah, I lean on Wake. I don't think Delaware scores much here. I just don't. I mean, I would say the best Power 5 team they played was Colorado, and they scored 7. I mean, Wake is like legitimate on defense. They're really good. They have a chance to get to 9 wins, which I think for Dave Clawson is uber impressive. Delaware is not real good against the run. I mentioned last week, I mean, I give Delaware credit, but like you look at this team. I mean, they lost last week to Sam Houston, Drew. I mean, one of the worst teams in the country. They're just super bipolar. They're clearly an FCS becoming an FCS team. I like Jake Dickert. I think he's done a hell of a job at Wake. I forgot Dave Clawson's not there anymore. It's Jake Dickert. Why am I saying Dave Clawson?
Right.
Jake Dickert's done a great job there in place of Dave Clawson. Yeah, I think they win here. I'll go like 31-10 or something. I think they cover.
We got next one up. One of the bigger games on the slate, BYU at Cincinnati, 8 o'clock Eastern time, -2. That is the Cougars as the road favorite, 54.5 being the total. 2 teams, great season, competitive price tag. You liking anything in the Queen City?
Yep, under 54.5. I was hoping to get maybe a 55, but I think this is a good enough price. I don't think we should be listing BYU totals in the 50s. Since he's, I think, a decent enough defense, their offense has kind of hit a bit of a skid recently. I think we've kind of realized that they can't actually compete at this highest level. And I don't love BYU on offense. Road game for them, good defense, struggles at times in the red zone. I think this is, again, first to 28 wins. I could see it 28-24, 28-20, something like that. 54.5 is a little too high to me here.
We get Tennessee and Florida up next, 7:30 Eastern kick in the Swamp. This number kind of, it's short, but maybe it's short for a reason. 3.5 -4. That is Tennessee as the road favorite. 57 and a hook being the total. Kind of a rivalry game here in the SEC. Are you liking anything with the Volunteers and the Gators in Gainesville?
Yeah, I like Tennessee here, -4. I don't have much issue playing it either. I just really at no point have been impressed by Florida. I mean, in most games against quality competition, they lay down and die. I don't think they have, I don't think this is a vintage Florida group. I don't think they get some of the same players that a Tennessee or an Ole Miss are getting. I noticed last week, Ole Miss is just a little too athletic for them. They don't have as good enough players. I don't think their quarterback's as good as Chambliss is. They couldn't really get a stop when it mattered most. I think Tennessee is just better than they are. I put this number closer to 6.5, 7 than 4. I don't mind laying the 4 here with Tennessee. I think for them, the goal is to get as many wins as possible. They're at 7-3. They're probably not going to win this conference, but I think a 9-win season's in an earshot here. I like Tennessee.
I agree with what you said about Florida. I've watched a lot of the Gators football games, and everybody jumped on Billy Napier, fire Billy Napier, but you brought up not as good a quarterback play with DJ Lagway, and I agree with you. I mean, he came in, 5-star recruit. He really hasn't been that good. And sure enough, we saw the interim coach, I believe his name is Gonzalez, he took him out, and I could see why. He's not playing that good but behind center. So
right, and when you're not real good, you mix and match, you try different things. For what it's worth with Tennessee, they don't have a good secondary. I'm not going to tell you they do. But they are good against the run. They have 33 sacks over 10 games. Very impressive defensive line here. They get to the quarterback, make things difficult. And this is a Florida group that I think at times can be had up front. So yeah, I'm going to lay it with Tennessee here.
All right, looking towards the Vols. We got next one up. I heard College Game Day was going to go here, but it didn't work out that way. It's Washington State and James Madison. JMU -13.5 at home, 42 being the total. Washington State, tough travel spot, but they've made this similar travel spots before this season with their kind of crazy schedule, Jeff, and played really good football. They're catching 2 touchdowns here. Good JMU team, CFB playoff implications. Are you liking anything with Washington State and JMU?
I like JMU here. Number one, they're at home. You mentioned kind of this is a tough travel here, right? You got to go. They're at home, right? JMU, yeah.
JMU's at home.
Yeah, I mean, you go all the way from Pullman, Washington to Harrisonburg, Virginia. That's a tough trip, man. You have to get off a bus, get on the airplane, get off a bus to Harrisonburg. It's not easy. They don't make these trips much. Washington State, you have to ask yourself, if they get down in this game, they kind of just go away, I feel like. And JMU is they have to win by as many points as possible. They have a really good defense. They're extremely well coached. They have a good quarterback who's played very well, Alonzo Barnett, all season. I also look at Washington State. I mean, this is another bipolar team, right? I mean, they should have beat Virginia and didn't. They then come back and beat Toledo. They then go on the road and lose to Oregon State. Then they come back last week and beat La Tech. But I will give this point. La Tech had Evan Bullock in there, who's been one of the worst quarterbacks in the country. Blake Baker didn't play last week for La Tech. I think that game would have went a whole lot different. I've just noticed at Washington State, for the most part on the road this year, they haven't been able to get the job done. They've had some bizarre performances on the road. Remember, they lost 59-10 to North Texas on the road. I think JMU win by margin here. I'm going to say 35-17 or something.
Fair enough, Jeff. As we got next one up, good matchup here in the ACC conference. Pitt and Georgia Tech. 62 being the total. We are seeing the Yellow Jackets -2.5 in Midtown Atlanta. So it's Pitt at Georgia Tech from Bobby Dodd Stadium, Jeff.
Yeah, I was fully prepared to back Pitt this week. And then I saw 2.5 and I thought, not interested. I actually kind of like Georgia Tech a little bit. And I don't like Georgia Tech. I think they're kind of phony, but the one thing that gives me a major pause is the road spot for Pitt. And I just don't think Pat Narduzzi's anywhere near the coach that Key is. I think ultimately I'd rather have Haynes King than a freshman in Heinzel. I was really turned off by Pitt's coming to Narduzzi basically said, we're not going to play hard in this game. It's not a front. We're actually not going to play good and we don't care about it. That bothered me. That seems to me why would you have that thought in your head, right? It's Notre Dame. You should get up for that game and want to win. And I don't know. I just think they're going to put all their eggs in a basket here, go on the road and lose. This is a game where if you're getting 3.5, I think maybe you lean Pitt, but you're not. Pitt also is questionably bad in the secondary. They have a young quarterback. I think Georgia Tech finds a way here.
Couple games left here, guys, for episode number 1. Every game on the board, week number 13 with Jeff Nadeau at Jeff Nadeau on Twitter. He's got a podcast, The Sit Down Podcast. Great listen there. As we got next game up here, Jeff, 143, 144, 4 o'clock Eastern, Michigan at Maryland. We are seeing the Wolverines -13 and a hook, -14, depending where you're shopping, kind of a split line, 45.5 being the total in College Park, Maryland.
Yeah, I don't have much here. I thought the number was about right. Michigan's been a pretty solid season for them. They've kind of just been going through the motions. Obviously, a big game to end the season. I think if it's 14 or higher, I'd probably lean Maryland just being at home. I don't think they're completely horrible. They have a solid quarterback. They're decently well coached. They've pretty much been in a lot of games, really outside of the Indiana game, and the Ohio State game. I don't think Michigan's on that level. So, yeah, gun to my head, I lean Maryland. And remember too, Drew, Maryland's 4-6. I think if there's any hope, maybe play a first half here. You get a pretty good outing from them. And maybe they go and die in the second half, but I didn't get there with this one.
Jeff, we got next one up, Duke in North Carolina, rivalry game here. This is the Tobacco Road rivalry, I believe. -6.5. That is the Blue Devils as the road favorite. 51 and a hook being the total in Chapel Hill, North Carolina.
Yeah, I hate to kind of sound basic with a lot of these, but I think at this point in the season, lines are pretty sharp in these games. This number is kind of bouncing between 7, 6.5. Duke, I think, has been really disappointing to me this season. I thought, last year they won 9 games. Malik Murphy at quarterback. I thought, wow, you're getting Mentz as your quarterback. Generally their defense is really good. This defense sucks. And they've been bad all year. They have not gotten any stops. They're another very bipolar team. They lose games they should win. I think one of the biggest head scratchers last week was how bad they played against Virginia. I mean, the offense, they had 3 points going in the fourth quarter. I don't know. Duke annoys me a lot. I had the over last week in that game, and they just did nothing. It was very irritating. Weirdly enough, I actually like UNC here, +7 at home. They have actually been a little bit better than I thought they'd be. They're actually possibly a team that could be bowl eligible. I think they win, actually. Duke just is – I'm not interested anymore. Ever since that Georgia Tech game, I've just been turned off by this team. They do a lot of stupid things. They're not a good defense. I think coaching-wise, I think Manny Diaz is just average. He doesn't do much for me. And for what it's worth, man, I mean, UNC's got a pretty good run defense. They're pretty good at getting to the quarterback. I lean UNC here.
And, another thing towards the Tar Heels, Jeff, is like Bill Belichick, it hasn't been necessarily the season you would have hoped for coming in, but he's a good football coach. So, as the season goes on, maybe they would become a better bet, play better football towards the end of the season. That could be something to throw out.
Yeah, I mean, I think it has to be mentioned, though. And one of the reasons I won't bet them here is you look at some of their wins. I mean, they beat Stanford. who cares? Syracuse is just horribly bad. I mean, their quarterback, some of the worst quarterback play in the country. I mean, lost to UCF by double digits, lost to Cal. I mean, they did beat Virginia, give them some credit there, they lost to Virginia by 1. That was impressive performance, but they probably shouldn't have any ability to be ball eligible. They just had some bad opponents they played. So yeah, it's got to my head. I'd lean UNC, but I can't ultimately bet them.
All right, we'll move to Toledo. Ball State at Toledo, Ohio to be exact. It is a little Saturday action. And man, Toledo, they've been on a run. And now the market coming on to it, minus 27.5, minus 28. So laying 4 touchdowns here, hosting Ball State, 47 and a hook being the total in the Glass Bowl.
Yeah, I think you have to be willing to Toledo to go back to the well with them because they'll burn you. Like they burned me with Bowling Green. They were up 21-0 and didn't cover, laying, I think, 6.5 or whatever I had. But you look at recently, I mean, against like the bad opponents, and they have taken care of business. 45-3 against Akron, 42-3 against Northern Illinois, 45-10 against Kent State. Last week, 24-3 against Miami O. I strongly believe, and I bet them preseason to win the MAC. I think when the rubber meets the road, they are the best team in this conference. If you said to me, pick the best team, I think it's Toledo. I think defensively, they are night and day better than anybody in this conference. It's Tucker Gleason. When Tucker Gleason plays well, they get him out. They don't make him throw for 300 yards a game. When they get Tranium involved, they get that receiver. That receiver group I think, can stack up with anybody in the country. Their receiver group with Treadway, Vandeross, and Trayvon Rudolph is really good. Yeah, I would lay it here. Gunnaman if I had to. They have been better than advertised against bad competition. Ball State, season's over. Okay. You're not going to a bowl. You're not going to win this game. So the season's over. I think they go to sleep in the second half and just get run off the field.
Yeah, I like the breakdown, Jeff. Great stuff on Toledo, man. I actually agree with you. I think they are the best team. I think they're better than Ohio. The MAC's going to be fun here the last week or two, and then in the championship game. And I wouldn't be surprised at all if Toledo comes out on top.
Look, if you're Toledo, there's really no excuse. I mean, they're better than Central Michigan. They're better than Western. They're better than every team in this conference. And I'll tell you right now, the one team to beat them in a really just a dogfight game was Western Michigan, 14-13. I'm going to guess they would love to get some revenge here. So I'm happy where I sit with this Toledo future. I think they will be the team. They'll play Western Michigan. So we'll see. I need Ohio to lose in that final game of the season. That would be nice. So we'll see.
Yeah, nice future ticket there on Toledo as we got last game for this segment, Jeff. Man, great stuff. Nebraska and Penn State. Penn State minus 9 and a hook, 44.5 being the total.
Yeah, I think this is lined pretty good. I would definitely keep an eye on the weather situation. I know around here, I'm not far from State College. Generally what goes on there goes on here weather-wise. They just get it like an hour before we do. I know in the next couple of days there's some rain. It's been raw. I mean, it's like, 30s during it'll probably be like 30, 40 degrees at game time. It's going to be cold. It's that time of the year. So just keep an eye. Outside of that, though, I don't have much here. 2 backup quarterbacks squaring off. I don't know. I don't know if Penn State should be a double-digit favorite. If they get to 10-10.5, I might play Nebraska. Ultimately, though, is a stay away. 2 good defenses, 2 offenses that are far away from where they once were. 2 backup quarterbacks, 2 teams that are pretty methodical. I think the total is really well done here. I put it around 44.5, 45. They're throwing out 43.5. Yeah, that's pretty strong. I could see a 20-17, 23-17. Lean Nebraska, lean under.
Guys, we got best bet coming your way. Jeff, just a question off the top here, man. Going down Twitter feed, I don't know if you've seen it yet, but UTEP, New Mexico State, they play this weekend. But my question to you is with the Sit Down podcast, did you hear about UTEP and possibly links to cartel money in terms of NIL? Have you heard that? I don't know if it's true.
I haven't, but I have a very good source in El Paso and in Juarez. She's terrific, Katarina Schultz. She does a lot of really good reporting on cartel stuff. She's broken some crazy stories. No, I haven't heard that, but I'll tell you this. I mean, it would probably be extremely possible. I mean, I think when people, you have to look at cartel, okay? I think people think of cartels as like this band of like militants that like run around and just, stalk farmers and things like that. Cartels are huge businesses. Huge. Like I mean, you do know, Drew, that the 15th most popular place of employment in the country of Mexico are cartels. They're businesses. They're Fortune 500 companies. That's what they are. They're no different than a big company in this country. That's what a cartel is. Would it surprise me that in El Paso, which is a stone's throw across the border from Juarez, where, I mean, also have to be understood, that is one of the most important border crossings to the flow of narcotics into this country in America. Would it surprise me that athletes from El Paso are getting NIL money? No, because a lot of companies in El Paso are cartel-run businesses. So no, it wouldn't surprise me. In fact, I think it's probable. It's probably likely. That's just the cost of doing business. It's almost like when that poker thing came out in New York with the NBA stuff. Like I told you, if you were running a poker game in New York City, in Manhattan, most notably, Lower East Side, Upper West Side, Harlem, those types of areas, it's controlled by the Gambino or Genovese crime family. That simple. That's what they do nowadays. So would it surprise me if that a business in El Paso has got some sort of loose base connection to players at a UTEP? No, not at all.
Yeah. So
I'll ask my source and see what she says.
All right, man. Well, yeah, guys, check out the Sit Down podcast. Maybe an episode on that for sure. Jeff Nadeau. Jeff, do you have a best bet you want to throw out to the listeners?
I do. And it's a side. You're going to have to wait late night. I'm going to go to game number 177, 178. I like San Diego State minus the 12.5 against San Jose State. You want to look around this time, Drew. Teams that have quit. San Jose's quit. I think it's pretty obvious. I noticed in the second half of the Air Force game, they had nothing. And the game was pretty close. Mm-hmm. I think they quickly realized we're not going to come back against Air Force. Our bowl hopes are over, and they're over now. They can't go to a bowl. You look at last week, they lose 55-10, not to UNLV, not to Utah State, to Nevada. That's a clear quit spot. And the problem that they have is, and it's very simple, if you are a team that can only throw the ball, you will never be successful in college football. You have to have a balance. They have no balance. All they can do is throw the ball. And what I mean by that is when you can only throw the ball, teams are just they're going to just drop everybody back in coverage. Right? Mm-hmm. And if your offensive line, like half the time, like can't block anyway, it won't matter. And look at this Walker Egan. You look at the quarterback, look at his numbers recently. I mean, they're just disaster. All they can do is throw the ball. They can't run the ball. Completion percentage under 60%. He has 8 interceptions. I mean, you look at the last couple of games, 5 interceptions over the last 2 games. San Diego State's one of the best secondaries in the country. They're going to have a lot of trouble here. And I will point out too, I know a lot of people will say, well, San Diego State only had 17 points last week. They barely threw the ball. The weather was really bad in San Diego last week. And Drew, you know this. You're a smart guy. In San Diego, when it rains, nobody can do anything. Time just stops. So I think that San Jose's quit. San Diego State is the best team in this conference, at least right now. I think they win by margin here.
Yeah, it doesn't rain much in Southern California. So when it does, it changes everything.
Sure. If the weather was good, they'd have won that game 31-7. But it wasn't. I think San Jose is just done. They can't run the ball. At San Diego State, they'll just drop everybody back in coverage. They'll have 8 people in coverage and 3 down linemen. That's how it's going to work. Their linebackers are good enough to cover the tight end. San Jose State is just really I don't know where they go.
One more question here. Woo Kenny Woo. We talked about the Rutgers Ohio State game. Charlotte plus 43.5, saying Georgia maybe resting starters. Woo Kenny Woo, appreciate the comment, man. I don't bet a lot of these like huge favorites, 30, 40 points. One thing I'll throw out there is I like to do track records on the team that's favored. So Georgia or Ohio State in this case, and look at their head coach and their offensive coordinator when they were in this profile before. And sure enough, Kirby Smart isn't a guy that runs up the score. So I would agree with you in terms of the underdog, but it's not a game I've bet. Anything in your opinion, Jeff?
Yeah, if I had to play either one, I would lean. I actually like Charlotte a little bit. One of the reasons for that is this is a great number, 43.5. I mean, you figure if Georgia gets to 50, even if you have no points, a backdoor you got to cover here. So you need this to be 56, 59, nothing to feel comfortable here. And Charlotte, I think they have a little pride. I think they'll get up for this game a little bit. There's a lot of points. As he said, I mean, Georgia's not playing for anything. I mean, they'll win the game. So it's not like and as you said, I mean, they played Austin Peay earlier this season, didn't cover this number. They played Marsh earlier this season, didn't cover this number. Georgia has Georgia Tech on deck. That's a fun rivalry game. You got Thanksgiving on deck. You get to this part of the season, you don't care much about Charlotte. So, yeah, I could see it, falling 48-7, 45-10, something like that.
Like it, Jeff. Great stuff, man. Great podcast, great information. Follow Jeff on Twitter at Jeff Nadeau, his podcast, The Sit Down Podcast. Jeff, anything else you want to throw out before we shut this down?
No, I appreciate it. What do we got next week? Last week of the regular season. So, it's the great thing about this world is, you always got next year to think about. So hopefully everybody's season finishes on a high note, and we still got plenty of stuff to still do though.
Plenty of football ahead. Yeah, we got bowl season, we got rivalry week. I guess next week, do you need to change anything up with Thanksgiving? Go earlier or this time next week?
I think I'm good. Wednesday will be fun.
Sounds good. Jeff Nadeau, everybody. We'll be back tomorrow with Mid-Major Matt, Robbie Vino finishing off the card. Give him a follow at Jeff Nadeau, his podcast, The Sit Down Podcast. Knows college basketball as well if you're looking for a college basketball handicapper. All right, guys. We'll be back tomorrow. Thanks for tuning in. Cash those tickets.